All right, so good afternoon, everyone. All right, so we're going to begin by looking at a graphs question. Now, what you have to remember is that you have your y-axis, which is vertical, and your x-axis, which is horizontal. This point here, where the x and the y-axis meet, is known as the origin, and it has the points 0, 0. So x is 0, y is 0 at that point. Now, on your axis, remember there are positive and negative for both your y and your x-axis values, right? So think of them as a number line. Right, so going up positively on the y-axis and down negatively on the y-axis here. Now, just a reminder, although your x-axis is laying down or horizontal, your x values are vertical, right? So if they ask you to sketch the graph, or they might say sketch the line, x is equal to 2. This line here is x is equal to 2. This line here is x is equal to 1. Now, that means that your y-axis is the line x is equal to 0. All right, so that means your y-axis is the line x is equal to 0. Good evening. All right. Now, although your y-axis is vertical or standing up, your y values run horizontal, right? So this line here is y is equal to 2. This line here is y is equal to 4. So that means that this line here has to be y is equal to 0. So that means your x-axis is the line y is equal to 0. Now, what that means is that along that line, anywhere along that line, y will be 0. Anywhere along this line, y is 2. Anywhere along this line, x will be 2. Anywhere along this line, x is 1, and so on. You have to understand that in terms of your graphs. All right, so look at this one. So they gave you two lines, two equations, two lines. They gave you L, and they gave you M. Now they asked you for line L. Line L is the one in pink. They want the x-intercept. Now, if they give you a graph, they want it from the graph. Now the x-intercept is basically where the line cuts the x-axis. Right, so they wanted where the line cuts the x-axis. So let's look at your line L. The line L is in pink. Where is it cutting the line? It's cutting the line here. Now they want the coordinates. When they say coordinates, it means they want the x and the y value. If you don't give them that and you just say at x is 6, you lose the mark because you didn't give them what they asked. Right? You didn't give them what they asked. They want the coordinates, and the coordinate means in this format. So you guys know the x always goes first. So at this point, right? So at this point, your x value is 6. And what's your y value? It's on the x-axis. And on the x-axis, you know that y is equal to 0. So your y value will be 0. So the x-intercept, where it's going to cut the x-axis, is at the point 6, 0. Let's look at the next one. It said, write down the coordinates of the y-intercept of line M. So the y-intercept simply means where the line cuts the y-axis. So look at line M, and you have to check and see where does it cut the y-axis. So it's going to cut the y-axis at this point here. Now, they never told you to put y is equal to -2. They want the coordinates, which means the x and the y. Now, on the y-axis, x is 0. You have to know that. So it's going to be 0. And then it cuts the y-axis at -2. So it's going to be 0, -2. All right. So anyone is not okay with this one? All right, so if anyone is not okay, you let me know. Graphs is a nice topic, but you have to know how to read them, right? All right, so once I could continue, you're going to let me know by putting the letter F in the chat. All right, so I'm waiting on a few more Fs. Once you're finished, let me know by putting the letter F in the chat. Good evening, Mrs. Herbert. Okay, yes. All right, so Mrs. Herbert, what I'll do is I'm gonna send you the recording. I started recording when you told me, right? So you are going to watch the recording up to here where I called your name, okay? So don't worry, I went through this very slowly on it, and you could always let me know and we'll go over it. All right. All right, so let's look at the next one. All right, so the next question was the equation of line L is x plus 2y minus 6 is equal to 0. They want us to find the value of k given the point 9k lies on the line L. All right, so let's say they gave us this one. So I'm just writing it down. So L is x plus 2y minus 6 is equal to 0. Now, anytime you have a straight line, you have to know that we are familiar with working our graphs. We're familiar with working out our equations of our lines, I should say, in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. This is the standard equation of a straight line. So this term here is equation of straight line. Right, so y is equal to mx plus c. Now they gave you your equation in this format here. It's not in this format. So what we can do is we can put it in that format. Right, so let's put it in that format. So we'll take the x plus 2y minus 6 is equal to 0. Now, you know, in mathematics, numbers are just like humans. You know, like let's say your book bag or your handbags, right? Because I have some adults. So your book bags or your handbag. You know, if anyone comes and tells you to move from one place to another, you know you're going to easily move from one place to another once you have your bag with you, right? But if you separate you from your bag, you're going to cause trouble, right? Because why are you moving me this way and you're taking my handbag a next way or my book bag a next way? It's gonna cause some trouble there because you know, as a human, you guys are going to be moving with your belongings. And it's the same thing with numbers. Numbers don't mind moving anywhere once they have their sign. So their sign comes like their baggage. All right, so let's look at this. Another thing you have to note is, you know, our handbags and our luggage, we always put it behind us. Numbers are different. They always have their baggage or their signs in front of them. So look at this. Then this negative sign belongs to the 6. So I could box him with his sign. This positive sign here belongs to the 2y. So I could box it with its sign. And you might be wondering, Miss, there's no sign in front of the X. If there's no sign, we understand in mathematics that it's carrying a plus sign. They don't have to tell us that. Once there's no sign, it's recognized as a plus, a positive sign. Now, you want to put this into the form of y is equal to mx plus c. So that means you want y on one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to carry everything else across the equal sign. But think of your equal sign as a transformer. Once you cross the equal sign, you perform the opposite operation. If you are adding, it becomes subtracting. If you are subtracting, it becomes adding. Multiplication becomes division. Division becomes multiplication. Square of a number becomes the square root of a number, and vice versa. So if you have square roots, it becomes the square. So let's look at the x. My x was added. So when it goes across, right, so I'm carrying everything one at a time across the equal sign. When I carry this across, it becomes minus x. I'm going to carry across the negative 6. It was minus n. So when it comes across, it's going to become adding. Now this 2, because remember, I want y is equal to mx plus c, right? So I'm going to carry across the 2 because I want y alone. So I'll end up with y is equal to, now this 2 was attached to the y through multiplication. That means that when I carry it across, it's going to become divided. But everything on this side is going to be divided by 2. So that means the negative x will be divided by 2, and the 6 will be divided by 2. Now, negative x over 2 is the same as saying negative 1 over 2x, or negative a half of x. Right, so I could write that as that. So I can say that y is equal to negative a half of x plus, and 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So L, this fancy thing that they gave us here that we're not too familiar with because we're accustomed to our equations being in the form of y is equal to mx plus c, is the same thing as y is equal to negative a half x plus 3. Now, I'm just going to write it up on this side here, right? It's on the right side. So L is y is equal to negative a half of x plus 3. So I'm just clearing here. So let's go back to our question. All right, so they said the equation of the line L is this. We put it into the form of y is equal to mx plus c. Find the value of k that the point 9k lies on the line L. Now, what does this mean? This means that if I have the point 9k, it means that x is 9 and y is k. Let's see if we could get it from the graph. Now, let me see how much marks that was. That's 2 marks. So yeah, we had some working to do. So x is 9. Now, there are 2 ways we could have gotten this. Because if you look, this part here would have been x is 9. So on the line L, you could have read off where that would have been. However, you wouldn't have gotten the exact answer, right? From it, if you look, it's like in between the square there where it's cutting. And because it's 2 marks, most likely they wanted us to work it to get the exact value. So from this, I can tell that from L, remember we got -1/2 x plus 3. I can tell that my gradient M is -1/2. My y-intercept C is equal to 3. They told me that x is 9 and they want me to find y. So what we can do is we could substitute what we know. I'm going to substitute it into the equation. Y is equal to mx plus c. So I have y, that's what I'm trying to find. I don't know what's y, right? I can't put x because we have another x here. So I put another question mark because that's what I'm trying to find. So this is what I'm trying to find. My gradient is -1/2. My x is 9 plus my y-intercept is 3. So we substitute everything into it. Right, I'm coming back here so you could see it. So y is equal to -1/2 times 9 plus 3. So BODMAS tells me I have to multiply first. So when I multiply this, there's nothing to break down. So I just multiply numerator by numerator and denominator by denominator. Right? So this will become 9/2 plus 3. Now, I have fractions here. I could put this over 1 and work it as a fraction. I cannot add fractions if my denominators are different. If my denominators are different, I have to find the LCM. The LCM of 2 and 1 would be 2. Whatever I do to the bottom here to make this 2, I must do it to the top. Whatever I do to the bottom here to make this 2, I must also do it to the top. So I'll end up with y is equal to negative 9, 1 is 9 over 2 plus 3 2s are 6 over 2. Now that my denominators are the same, I could just subtract or add my numerators depending on what we do. Now I have 2 different signs. The rule is once you have 2 different signs, you subtract like normal. 9 take away 6, that's 3, but you have to keep the sign of the bigger number. 9 is bigger than 6, so it's going to be negative 3 over 2. And that can be reduced to a mixed fraction as negative 1 and 1/2. So that means y is equal to negative 1 and 1/2. So when x is 9, y is negative 1 and 1/2. So it's going to be at the point 9 and negative 1 and 1/2. The question is, Miss, how do you know that I couldn't just use the graph and use it? The number of marks, right? It was 2 marks, right? That's 1. And 2, they would have told you using the graph. They never told you using the graph. They actually gave you the equation. As if you remember, they gave you the equation, L is equal to x plus 2y minus 6, which means they wanted you to use the equation. If you did it through the graph, you'll just get 1 mark. Or depending on the scale, however much it was allocated to. All right, so any questions on this one? Now, those who are informed.
I am completely
Lost. All right, so here's what I'll do. I'm actually doing graphs in, I think it's a Form 3 class, you know, the Form 3 class. What I can do is, because remember this, right now what we're doing is we're prepping for those who are doing the exam this June. But after this June, we're going to start over, right?
Oh, okay, I'm not catching you.
Right, so even if you're confused with this one, we're going to start over in May, no, June, because their last exam is early June. Right, so even if I'm coming back to all of these. All right, so those in the Form 4 or who's not doing it this June, you just let me know, because I'm still going to have to focus on it with you in order to make sure that we get it. And if any Form 5 or who's sat in the exam this year is confused with this one, please let me know. We have to make sure we get this. right? We have to be prepared for anything. We don't know what they're going to bring, right? So you have to be prepared for everything. All right, so any questions on this one? All right, so once I could go ahead, you're going to let me know by putting the letter F in the chat. All right, so just waiting on a few more. All right. So let's look at the others. If anyone is not ready, you let me know by putting the letter N in the chat in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What I could do is over the Easter holidays, right, which is first 2 weeks of April. If anyone has any like trouble topics for the foundation part, you could just let me know and we could I might have to increase the number of classes as we get nearer to exams. So I could always use those times in order to make sure we're clear on the foundation. Right? If you're not doing the exam this year, don't worry. We're gonna restart again right after the exams. All right, so let's look at the next part now. They said, now this one, 9 marks. They will work us for this graph for this one. Sometimes it's not so much in graphs, you know, but this paper, they work us with graphs. Because they even give us the frequency curve graph. They will get work with graphs this year. Isaiah, you finished the paper? You finished it, right? You see, if you got plenty graphs, you have to work faster, right? And smarter too, right? You can't spend too much time on your questions, right? A lot of students, I don't know why, they spend too much time on the graphs, but you just have to work a little faster with it. And here's the thing. Once you know what you're doing, it makes it easier for you, huh? Nice. Isaiah said he finished the paper. Yeah, it's possible you could finish the paper, but you just have to know you have to work faster. All right, so that was B I did. Right, looking at C. They said, find the equation of line M in the form y is equal to mx plus c. Now, anytime they ask you to find the equation of a line, you can use, okay, so I'm just gonna put a little note. Right, so you could take this note for me. All right, so I try to explain it as simple as how I'll say it. So in order to find the equation of a line, you need two things, the gradient and the y-intercept. Because anytime you have an equation of the line, it's always like y is equal to 3x plus 6, or y is equal to a half x plus 12, or y is equal to negative 7x minus 18, right? It's always in that form. So in order for you to get it, you must have your values of m and c in order to get your equation, right? So we want to know how are we going to get it. Now, in order to find m, which is your gradient, you can use 2 points on the line. Now, if they give you a graph, you just look for 2 easy points that you could read, right? I like to get points at junctions, which is easier for me to read. I don't like to deal with fractions so much. So if I could find 2 points that are at the junction of the x and the y values, right? I take those points. I'll show you what I mean in a bit. So you need 2 points, point 1 and point 2. So for each of the points, you're going to have their x and y values. Now, you have the x and the y value of one of the points and the x and the y value of the other point. So you could label one as point 1 and one as point 2. Now, in order to find the gradient, you have to use the formula y2. Let me just cover here for a little bit. Right, this has to be next to the gradient, right? I forgot to write it. So you're going to use the y2 value, take away the y1 value, divided by the x2 value, take away the x1 value. So you could label each point as point 1 and point 2, label one set as x1, y1, and the next one as x2, y2. It doesn't matter which of the two you make, 1 or 2. Right, so you use this formula in order to find the gradient m. Then you have to find the y-intercept. Now, there are 2 ways we could find this. The first way is if you are given a graph, just look on the graph and see where the graph cuts the y-axis. And where the line cuts the y-axis, that's your y-intercept. Or if they never gave you the graph, you're going to use 1 point to get the x and the y values. And you're going to get the gradient. You'd have got the gradient before. You substitute and then you just solve for c. I'll give you an example. So let's say they gave you the point 5, 3. Right, so 1.53. From that, you're going to get your x and a y value. Let's say you found your gradient to be 2. If I want to find for c, I'm going to substitute those values into my equation. Y is equal to mx plus c. Wherever I have y, I'll put 3. Wherever I have m, I'll put 2. Wherever I have x, I'll put 5. Remember, once you have a letter attached to another letter, or a letter attached to a number, it means that you multiply. So this means m times x. So that's 2 times x, which is 5, plus c. Now remember, I need to find out what is c. So if I don't have a graph, this is what I'm going to do. So I'll end up with 3 is equal to 5 2s are 10 plus c. Algebra, in order to solve the unknown, I carry everything else across the equal sign. Once I cross the equal sign, I perform the opposite operation. This was adding. So when I carry it across, it becomes minusing. So this becomes 3 minus 10 is equal to c. So I have positive 3 minus 10. Lashadi, if you have to watch that video on the algebra and so on, okay? And what you call it? Positive and negative numbers. If we don't get that foundation, we're gonna have trouble, right? So you'll just tell me once you watched it, and I have to explain it to you to make sure that you get it. Once I have 2 different signs, I'm gonna subtract and keep the sign of the larger numbers. I subtract like normal. 10 take away 3, that's 7. My 10 is bigger, so it's gonna be negative 7. So C is negative 7. Now, I know that my gradient is 2 and my y-intercept C is negative 7. So my equation will be y is equal to m, which is 2, x plus c. My c is negative 7. So the equation of my graph will be this. Right, so all I did was I did an example where if we didn't get a graph, that's what we'll do to find the y-intercept c. Now, if you're putting this work in, put this underneath the y-intercept and put a little note, finding the y-intercept without a graph. All right, so Tammy, once I can move on by putting the letter F in the chat. All right, so I have two F's. Tell me as soon as I can move on by putting the letter F in the chat, okay? All right, so question, anyone is not finished? Let me know by putting the letter N in the chat. Josie, are you keeping up with me?
Yes, miss.
All right, awesome. All right, so I'm going to clear. If anyone objects, you let me know by putting the letter N in the chat in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so actually all of that was just to explain the different ways to find the equation of a line, right? We didn't do the question yet, right? So let's look at attempting this question now that they asked us. Right, so they told us find the equation of line M in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. So you go back up to your graph. Right, so you want to find the equation of line M in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. In your equation, to write the or find the equation of a line, you need M and you need C. In order to find the M, I need 2 points on the line. So you look at the line M, and let's look at 2 points on this line. Now I like to look for where it's at an intersection that I could easily read it. Right? I don't like things like you see like this. You'll rarely see me picking something like here. Right? Because I like to make my life easy. Right? And you should too. So you look at junctions where you could easily read your X and Y values. So I'm going to take this point, which is X value is 3, Y value is 4. So I'm going to name that point 1. It doesn't matter, just 2 points. And I'm going to take point 2, another one that is easy for me to read. I could use this one. But if not, all right, Joseph, if you're talking, I think I couldn't hear you, okay? All right. So I take another one that's easy to read. So my point 2 will be at 2, 2. Now, make sure that your 2 points is on M. It has to be on M. Now, in order for me to find my gradient, I'm going to use the formula M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I label them. This is point 1, so I can name this x1, y1. This is point 2, so I'll name it x2, y2. So I'm going to substitute it into my formula. Y2, I have that as 2. Y1, I have that as 4. It doesn't matter. This could be a point 1 and this could be a point 2. Right? It doesn't matter. But once you do it in the order of how you do it. My x2 is 2 minus my x1 is 3. Once I have two different signs, subtract the sign of the larger number. So that's negative 1. I mean negative 2. Right? Because 2 take away 4 is 2. Biggest number is negative, so it'll be negative 2 over 2 minus 3, subtract like normal. 3 take away 2 is 1, negative 1. Once you're dividing and you have two same signs, you divide like normal. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And once you have two same signs, the answer is positive. So your gradient is positive 2. I don't have to put the plus sign because in mathematics, if you don't have a plus sign, we understand that it's positive. All right. So next up, now I now see something that happened and I'm not going to reveal it. Right? I'm not going to say what it is. Right? Now, I know that maybe you guys might feel like, you know, it's so stressed out with the maths and so on, right? But maths, you need patience and practice. Now, when I go through maths, I go through it very gentle, very slowly, so that you will know the steps, what to do. So when it's your turn to do it, I give you the notes that you can constantly have it there to revise it. Now, it is your responsibility to sit into class. Now, I know my voice is very, very soft spoken and so on. I don't talk long, right? Naturally, I don't talk very long, right? But it's on you. Put yourself in a place where you can sit up, right? If you lay on your bed, you're going to fall asleep, right? Even if I was hyper and my voice was like on extra, there's a chance if you're tired, you will still fall asleep. Right? In classes, you have to make sure that you are seated upright. In that way, it kind of eliminates that stress on you that wanting to fall asleep. Another thing that you can do is you can put it on loud and you can walk around from time to time while you're listening to me. Like if I'm talking and not writing at the moment, you could take a little stretch and walk around. Another thing I recommend is if you get, because of the hour the classes run, right? Unfortunately, this is the hour that I have to have these classes so that the adults could also join in, right? Right, so unfortunately, I can't change these times because then not everybody will reach home from school and then the adults, right? So this is the time that we have to have it. You can have some healthy snacks next to you, like popcorn. I mean, I choke right through on popcorn, right? But if you could eat popcorn, eat a popcorn, some nuts, or I don't know, maybe like a little fruit or something. If you can't and you have your chips and whatever it is, you could munch on it periodically to keep you up, right? That's one way of advice, right? But it's your responsibility to work with me. You're supposed to have your book, your calculator, your pens, your pencils, and you're supposed to be working with me. All right, so just an observation, right? But I'll continue. So you need to have your gradient. So we solve for gradient. Now in this case, to find the y-intercept C, it's easy because they gave us the graph, right? So for this one, all you have to do is just look at the look at the line M, look at the line M and see where it cuts the y-axis. It cuts the axis at 3. No, sorry, wrong thing, is line M, right? Wrong one, look line M here. Right, so this is line M. So you have to look and see where line M cuts the y-axis. So it cuts the y-axis here at -2. So that's -2. And then in order to write the equation, all you have to do is just put it into your M and C into the form y is equal to mx plus c, where M is 2. So if I have M, I'm going to substitute for 2 plus C is -2. So if I'm going to add -2, it's going to be just -2. So my equation for M is going to be y is equal to 2x minus 2. Now just saying, some of you guys have mock exams coming up. You guys know some schools, they bring back the last paper, right? Might, not all the time, right? Not all the time, but possibility. Roshan, you did your mock exam already?
No, miss.
Not yet. Also, they were just doing this paper.
Yeah, miss.
All right. So that means, Roshan, if they did this paper in school, they're not going to use that for your mock exam. I mean, it's good to have something that you never did before, because then you're going to be able to see your true potential now for your mock exams, right? So before I go into that, your mock exams does not define how you're going to do in your final exams, huh? I know people, they do their mock exams and they may not have done the way that they wanted. They got anxious and so on. It does not define how you're going to do in the final exam. Right? So give it your best. And even if you don't get the scores that you want in your mock exams, please don't take that as a thing to say, oh my gosh, I'm going to not do well. A lot of people, I saw that happen too, where they may not have gotten the high scores that they wanted. And then in the final exam, they aced it. Right? So it does not define how you do. You lie. Oh gosh, sorry, and it's on recording. Sorry. Taisha got this whole paper. So Taisha, how was this one so far? Taisha got her mock exams today and they got the whole paper. So that means Taisha, the first part you would have been able to mash it up. But we did the first part. Were you able to answer them? Okay, good. Right, so the first part, you were able to do. When you get back your results, send it for me to see where you got the errors, okay? Did you get the same answers as me for the first part? No, you didn't get the same things. That's all right. Send me, when you get it back, send it to me or for this question. All right. Send it to me, let me see, and I'll go through it with you. All right. So Taisha said she got this one for her mock exams. Yeah, they tend to bring the last one, but not all the time. Some teachers will be like, they expect the last exam, and then they swap it on you. Right? I'll do that. I'll do that. Like if I have a mock exam, I'll never take the last one. Just saying, huh? Just saying. All right, so let's look at the next part. All right, so show by calculation. When I'm finished with these, we'll stop, okay? Let me just finish off these two, and then we'll stop, and then I'll complete the others in the next class. Again, I might have to increase our classes over the vacation, the holidays, so that I'll be able to cover anything that you guys are having trouble with, right? Please do not wait until mock exams alone as a practice. Please practice on your own. Practice your multiple choice. Don't wait until I give you a question. In fact, at the start of the class, I sent you guys this link to all the past papers. Please practice and please send them to me. Don't wait until the night before the exam to send a whole set of things for me to cover. Right? I'm going to allocate a 4-hour class, not the week of the week of exams, like before, the week just before, where I'll be able to go over any concerns that you have, but the only way is to start practicing from now. Have to. So if you're finished with your SPAs and your mock exams and so on, start drilling. All right, so they said, show by calculation that the line L and M are perpendicular to each other. Now, they said by calculation. Now, this is line L, and this is line M. Perpendicular means that they form a right angle. Right? So if two lines are perpendicular, they form a 90-degree angle. So perpendicular means forms a right angle. They cut at a right angle. Parallel, if they're parallel, it means that they run alongside each other. Right, so they run alongside each other at the same distance apart throughout, and they don't ever meet. Now, for perpendicular lines, when I multiply the gradients of both lines, so if I take the gradient of line 1 and multiply it by the gradient of line 2, I'm supposed to get -1. And for parallel lines, your gradients are equal. So that means if you have the gradient of one line, it's going to be equal to the gradient of the second line. Now, this is a fact that we must know. If you didn't know it, we just note it, right? All right. So they told me that we have to show by calculation that my lines L and M are perpendicular. That means when I take the gradient of one and I multiply by the gradient of the other, I'm supposed to get -1. Right? All right, so we know the gradient of M. We just solved that. So you guys remember the gradient of M? Two. All right, thanks. So the gradient of M was 2. So you're going to find the gradient of L. Right, so they want us to find the gradient of L. Now this is the line, this is the gradient of, this is line L here, right? So you're going to do the same thing. Right, so you're going to get 2 points on the line that are easy to read, any 2 points. So is it okay if I take this one and this one? So I'm going to take these 2 points. This one, my value of X is 0 and my value of Y is 3. And for this one, my value of X is 4 and my value of Y is 1. Right, so remember, in order to find the gradient, you use y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Right, so y2, I could name anyone y and x, right? So you just want to label it so it doesn't mix up. So I could name this x2, y2, x1, y1. Right, so I'll take my y2 as 1 minus my y1 as 3 all over my x2, which is 4, minus my x1, which is 0. So we'll end up with let me come. Yeah. Right, so let me just double check. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus y. So 1 minus 3, 1 minus 3 is negative 2 over 4 minus 0. 4 minus 0 is 4. 2 could go into 2 once, 2 could go into 4 2 times. So I'll end up with negative a half. So my gradient for L is negative a half. So M, my gradient was 2, and L, my gradient was negative 1/2. So let's multiply the 2. So gradient 1 times gradient 2. What do you get when I multiply these two? This will cancel with this. So my answer will be negative 1. Doesn't that prove that my two lines are perpendicular? Because when I multiply the 2, once I get negative 1, it shows that they're perpendicular. Right? And they said by calculations. So you had to show the calculation.
Could we change the color in the background? I kind of oldish and I don't wear glasses.
Was that the background of the paper?
On the right and for the sides, I could
Or on the
clearly
side?
see.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll screenshot both sides for you for this one. And I'll make sure and do that for the next one. What happens is if I change it, I'll have to erase everything and redo it. So I'll just screenshot it and
Okay.
send it to you now,
All
right?
right.
Sorry
Okay. All
about
right.
that.
Thank you.
No
It's okay.
problem.
That's okay.
All right, so I'll send it after. Right, so yes, so I have one more part of this to do. Now, you guys, especially those who are going up for exams this year, right? So that's Sia, Kwasi, Roshan, Rahania, Adia, but Adia got disconnected, Shakira, and Taisha. I lost somebody. Now, if you know what you're doing, it makes it easier for you. So make sure that you're familiar with what to do in the case of anything. And the best way is to go back to your past papers, see the different ways that they bring it, try it, and you could always WhatsApp it to me. And what I'll do is I'll use it in classes where everyone will be able to benefit from it. So when I say homework, it don't mean homework from a teacher, you know. It could be your personal practice, and I'll go through it with you. Right? All right, so I'm gonna clear this. I have one more and we close off. Now, Taisha, although you didn't get it in the mock exam, remember the mock exam doesn't define how you're going to do in the finals, huh? So just learn from your mistakes and practice, right? So don't feel overwhelmed that, oh my gosh, this is it, blah, blah, blah. That mock exam is just for you to experience, like to work with time, to see how much faster you have to work, etc., but it doesn't define what or how you're going to do in the final exam. If I write, I'll be honest, I think when no, this is long ago, huh? And yeah, this was like when I did it. I think so I can't recall for sure, but I think my mock exams, I was sick for my mock exam. Right, if I write, because I don't recall doing a mock exam for mathematics, because I did my exam in January, and I don't recall doing a mock exam for when we did it. I think I was sick for my mock exam, and I still get a distinction in it. Right, so it doesn't define you. I'm not telling you to miss your mock exams, huh? Go on to your mock exams, get the experience, and do it. All right, so last one from this question. 1 mark. They said line L and line M represent the graph of a pair of simultaneous equations. Using the graph on page 11, write down the solutions to the pair of simultaneous equations. Now, for a graph like this, simultaneous equations simply means that both equations share a common y value and a common x value, right? So their x and their y, it's in common. Now, if I look at these two graphs, yeah, because when you're solving a simultaneous equation, right, you're going to get an x value and a y value, and both that x and that y value is going to be the same for both equations. Right, Lashadi, I'll go over it, you no worries. So in a graph, if I want to know the values of x and y, which are the same, it's where they're going to cut. Right, so where the two lines cut each other, their x and their y values will be the same. So the solution to that simultaneous equation where the x and the y values are going to be not the same like this, that this is 2 and this is 2, right? It just means that this point is on M and on L, right? So regardless of the x and the y values, it's going to be shared between the L and the M lines, right? So to solve that simultaneous equation using the graph, my solution will be 2, 2. 1 mark. All right, so what I'll do is I'll close off there for now. Some days I'll be going to the 8:30, right? Like today, because my goal is to try to finish off and do it thoroughly, where you can go and try other questions like these, look out for them and try them, right? Practice them, right? So if I have to go to the 8:30, right, have your little snacks, and once in a while you could get up, walk around, have your water with you, right? But make sure you're seated up, right? So you don't fall asleep, okay? I'll try to call on you guys more often to keep you guys alert. All right, so that's it for us for class for today. Right, we'll close off here for now. Next week, please God, I'm going to look at the cumulative curve. A study. Yeah, I could do the frequency table. I did this one already. So we could do the cumulative frequency table. Ooh, they brought this back. This coming every year so far, guys. So you see like this, you guys have to practice it. We did it before. I'll do it again, but you guys have to practice that. That's coming every year, Jan and June for the past few years. Right? I'll decide between functions, or look at another graph. So you'll see, you guys have to know what you're doing to work faster, right? This paper, they gave us a lot of graphs for this paper. When you got a lot of graphs, just pull your fingers, tell yourself you could do this and start working faster, right? It's very possible to finish your papers. All right, so guys, that's it for us for class for today. I'll see you guys in our next session. Please have a great and a safe afternoon. Bye-bye for now, everyone.
Bye.